I have found that a lot of the kids do really well when we figure it out together rather than me telling them how to do it.
Welcome back to the You Need a Counselor podcast. This is a show presented by Heart and Solutions Counseling Agency. We release new episodes every Sunday at 5 p.m. Central and encourage you to batch up that laundry, put away the dishes, plan for the week ahead, or do any other task that might seem daunting while you give our show a listen. You might just be encouraged to call your therapist, connect with this week's guest, or seek out those services you've been considering for a while but haven't made the commitment to yet. If you are in the state of Iowa and are in need of mental or behavioral health counseling, give us a call at 1-800-531-4236. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome back to You Need a Counselor podcast. My name is Dr. Julie Johnson. I'm the president and founder here at Heart and Solutions Counseling Services in Iowa.
And I'm Chrissa Hunt. I am our vice president in charge of the BHIS department, so Behavioral Health Intervention Services for Children. And this is our podcast, You Need a Counselor. So we are designed for people curious about counseling, but have barriers keeping them from experiencing the benefits of counseling. Our mission is to share stories about counseling, good, bad, and indifferent, and spread the message that everyone can benefit from mental health and behavioral health counseling services.
So before we welcome our guest today, I just want to show you guys what came in the mail today, which is the You Need a Counselor water bottles. So these have come in the mail. We are going to be sending our guest today one in the mail. So You Need a Counselor, presented by Heart and Solutions. We're really, really excited to have these going out. We're going to be sending them out, and we've got a bunch of giveaways coming up. So definitely go ahead and follow us anywhere so that you can make sure that you get entered to get one in the mail. All right, so the first recipient of a You Need a Counselor water bottle is one of our favorite guests. I gotta say, when I think through previous episodes and I think through, all the different awesome conversations that we've had, our next guest really, really does come to mind for me. I loved this episode. So we've got Megan Buck here with us today. Welcome, Megan.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Hi, welcome back. So Megan is a neurodivergent academic coach. She helps students and their parents with academic coaching, and she does this all virtually. So anywhere in the country that you are, you can work one-on-one with Megan on those academic strategies. And what I thought was so cool last time that you talked about was that you treat every student that comes in as though they have a neurodivergence. You treat them as though they have these different skills because it works. These techniques, they work for such a wide variety of students. And so a child does not have to have a diagnosis of ADHD in order to come and get that one-on-one counseling or that one-on-one coaching for academic sessions. So we just thought that was really, really cool to hear as well, because it is so inclusive, the skills that you're doing with these families and these parents. So Megan has a women's ADHD support group twice a month, and she also is a JST ADHD and life coaching certified coach. And she is an International Coaching Federation recognized coach. And so that is a lot of credentialing and a lot of different pieces that really she uses to bring into this one-on-one coaching, specialized services that she does for every student and family. So welcome back, Megan. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you.
So just give us a brief overview of what is Empower Academic Coaching? What services do you guys do there?
Yeah, so as you were saying, we work with kids all over the country, specializing and working with kids who have ADHD. But I like to call it, and I think it's recognized as being called, the universal approach of saying, if these accommodations will work for this type of neurodivergence, odds are they're going to work for everyone. So we specialize in working with kids 6th grade all the way up through college. And then we do work with some adults as well on this coaching. while we're called academic coaching, we do largely focus on executive functioning skills, those things like organizing, planning, prioritizing, which I think is amazing because everyone can benefit from that type of support, especially because it's not something that is intrinsically learned in any way. Some kids can pick it up by seeing it, but not everyone can. So we specialize in working with kids. We'll focus on some academic supports every once in a while, like we'll help with math, language arts, that kind of thing, just to help boost up the confidence in those subject areas. But we really focus on creating systems that work for each individualized kid as they come in to our Empower family.
Awesome. Yeah, we love the work that you're doing there. It's just so needed, and just so like you just so like inclusive, because it's not just students that have these specific symptoms or set of challenges. It's all students need to learn these things. None of us are born with these skills. Like none of us know how to do them when we're born. So we either have to learn them through role modeling, but because a lot of the neurodivergence has a genetic factor, our parents might not have learned those skills, because our grandparents might not have learned those skills. And so, we might not have the role modeling to be able to do it in the way that works for us. So then how do we learn it? We either learn it slowly through trial and error, which is a painful process to learn it or way to learn it. Or we can have that direct, specialized approach where we're learning these new things. And this kind of coaching, it reminds me so much of BHIS, the Behavioral Health Intervention Service that we do here in Iowa, because that's our kind of stance on it too. Nobody is born with communication skills. Nobody is born with problem solving skills or the ability to handle conflict. And so we either learn it through role modeling, and that happens for a lot of people, but for other people it doesn't. And so we need that kind of very standardized, we're learning how to do this. So I just think it's so great what you're doing, especially in that academic space. So I wanted to talk through now, if you're listening to this and you haven't listened to Megan's first episode, go listen to that, because it is, like I said, it's one of my favorite. And when we were talking, you shared about your own counseling experience, and you shared about working with your current counselor and being able to go through some emotional regulation strategies, and being able to, you described this storm of emotion that, you would have, and that you thought, and you were misdiagnosed, and you thought like, oh, this is something wrong with me. And then you got connected with the counselor that you have, and she was like, well, let's dig into that, right? Like, what is that? And you were able to work through those strategies and build that up with her. I've been thinking about that because we had, off camera, we had come to you guys, we had kind of pitched an idea, and it was just that, it was an idea. And gosh, like with so many things that are like such great ideas, right? Timing, budget, right place, right time. Timing is everything in life. And so that project did not work out. And I thought, oh my gosh, what if Megan did not have the counseling support that she had, right? For the, I think you called it in the last episode, rejection sensitivity, right? And all of those strategies that you've built up. For me, and anybody who listens to the podcast knows that we've talked a lot about my attachment style and how I have an insecure attachment style, and how counseling has helped me with that. Because when things don't work out with a person, I feel that as a relationship thing, right? And so being somebody who wants to be in relationship with people, when things like that happen, which is like normal life, right? That can be really triggering for me. And I would imagine those kinds of things could be triggering for you. And so I thought, oh my gosh, left to our own devices, what could have happened here, right? And like, really? And so then I thought, oh my gosh, but because we're each in counseling for our own triggering situations, right? And our own ways of how we process those kinds of things, that situation can go so much better than it would, on our own, right? So can you speak a little bit to that and kind of those strategies and maybe how counseling did help in that kind of situation?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that my rejection sensitivity comes a lot from social interactions, like you were saying. If I have some sort of idea that I want to talk to colleagues or friends about, or if I have some idea that I am so excited about, because sometimes I'll just like a light bulb goes off and I'm like, this is the best idea that's ever existed in human experience. And if there's any glimpse of negative feedback or any glimpse of a no, I would say 5-ish years ago, it would have destroyed me entirely and I would have needed about a week to recover, if not longer. That experience for me was very much like a shutdown, inability to function, inability to work. I'm not sure how familiar we are with the vagus nerve of that trauma response with the fight or flight. I'm a freezer, so I stop functioning essentially. It took a lot of work, and I was doing specifically DBT therapy to like regulate those internal processes of saying, this is not real what you're feeling right now. This is just a sensation. So how can we identify that it's a sensation and work through it, sit with it and say, this is okay. I'm not in danger. I'm not a terrible person. It's not just black and white thinking. There's like a whole spectrum of what is happening. So for me, it took a lot of like breathing exercises. It took a lot of physical activities. It took like a myriad of coping strategies for me to be able to say, here's what's actually happening. And I'm very thankful for the community that I work with now. My boss is great. We work on something called a brag sheet roughly every month to say, here are my small accomplishments to show that I am capable. And that if I get a no, I can also look back at the things that I've been able to accomplish that have been great. In it, like, there's small things like I kept a plant alive this month. That's an accomplishment, right? Or I had a goal of working out 3 times this week. I did it twice, but that's still progress. So it's recognizing the benchmark does not have to be perfection and that it can just be progress. So when we look at those successes from a different lens, I think it helps tremendously with that rejection sensitivity, especially in my case. But yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, those are so, we do like, I saw a meme the other day that was like, how do I teach my brain that I don't need to fight a tiger? It's just an email,
Mm-hmm.
like how do I, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's what we do, because we do have that same feeling and we either go into that fight or freeze. And being able to, when you said, and I'm a freezer, I love that. Like, how empowering is that to be able to say, this is how I am, like, this is how I do it. And knowing that helps us in so many ways, I was like, what am I? I mean, I'm a freezer in so many ways. And then I'm a fighter, so it's like I'll kind of go through this process with it. And I think a couple episodes ago, actually, I talked about how my husband is very, very supportive, but sometimes the supportive thing he'll say to me is, oh yeah, you're right. You probably are terrible at that, because that kicks in my fight mode. Which
nice.
is a lot of times in a certain situations is more helpful to me than my freeze mode, And so he does that, and it does kick that fight mode in, and then I can move on with, the thing that I need to do to move that project forward. So just kind of funny thinking about those components and like that process that we go through. And so thank you for sharing all of that. It's so helpful to just hear these different pieces that you've learned over the years and the way that you're able to utilize that. I also love what you said about the project. Like, we can tend to be project people. We can tend to be like, ooh, that amazing thing. Like, I don't want to run a 5K. I want to run a marathon. Like, I want to do a triathlon, right? And so it's like, I don't want to work out one day a week. I want to go climb a mountain, right? So we kind of have that, and being able to intentionally have the skill to break it down into like, yeah, but I worked out twice a week or twice this week. That's huge. Like, that's huge. And being able to give ourselves credit for that is so important, because it doesn't come naturally for a lot of us, right? Like for some people, it kind of does. For sometimes we look and we go, oh yeah, that person is like very excited about, working out one time or whatever it is. But, for some of us, it doesn't come naturally. And so being able to go, okay, I'm going to give myself credit. I'm going to say that is the goal. I completed that goal, right? Because my goal can be, I'm going to move this week. Like I'm going to move my body intentionally this week, period. I did it. Awesome. Right. So I love that. So thank you so much for that. So last time we talked about kind of the process that a parent would go through in order to get their child set up with that one-on-one academic coaching. And you had talked about kind of an assessment, kind of the questions that you guys ask in order to assess where the student is. And you talked about helping parents to meet the student where they are and helping parents to identify this is where they are, not where they should be. This is where they are, right? We don't need to look at where they should be. We can look at where they are. And so we would love to hear from you. And Chrissa and I love a role play. So we would love to do a role play with you so that we can kind of just demonstrate what is it like to do that? Because as we've talked to you, we know you're not scary, right? But as we think as a parent of like, going into a place and or going online and having this stranger evaluate our child. Like I might be frustrated with my child, but is some stranger going to judge my child, right? Like that's not okay. And so we'd love to hear really what that feels like and looks like. So for the role play, you can call us Julie and Chrissa, that's fine. But I will pretend to be the mom. And Chrissa will pretend to be the child. And Megan, what age do you think Chrissa should be?
Let's see. My toughest kiddos who make the most progress, I would say, are 8th grade.
Yeah, 8th grade.
Yep.
Awesome. Perfect. So Chrissa will be an 8th grader. That's like 13-ish, right? 13. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 13 or 14. And so that sounds great. So we'll kind of let you start off. We're going to pretend like we just logged on.
Awesome. So the way that our consultation or our intake calls generally go is that we talk directly to the parent for a little while. Generally, we'll meet with the parent and the child separately, but if everyone's there, we'll definitely talk and kind of compare notes and see what's going on. So Julie, I would ask, what is your biggest hope to come out of working with an academic coach for your child?
I just feel like it would be really great if she could I don't know, she's so smart. Like she has these problems with just certain teachers. And I don't know if it's just that they don't mesh or whatever, but she does really great in some of her subjects. She does awesome in math. She does really, really great in anything music. She's in band and she's awesome. And then she'll go to language arts or she'll go to history and I don't even know what it is. It's looking at 2 different report cards when she comes home with those. And even the comments are it's 2 different kids. Her math teacher is excellent, she's a joy to have in class. She always participates, she whatever. And then her language arts teacher had to send me an email last month because she was Chrissa just will not do the assignment. We'll all be sitting and writing quietly and she'll just not be doing it. And then I ask her if she's going to join the rest of the class. And then she just stares at me. And so I don't know. I would like to have her be able to do just as well in those other classes. And I would like to not get emails from her teachers all the time because it's just frustrating to me because I know she can do better. Like, I know she can do well. And I also know, like, she writes poems at home sometimes. Like, she writes in her journal at home. I know she should do well in language arts. Like, there's no reason for her to not do well. So I don't know. I guess I just want her to, like, apply herself, like, actually, like, do as well as she should be doing.
Awesome. Okay. So the first thing I want to point out is that every parent we work with says something very similar to this. So if you're feeling alone in this struggle, you're not. We have like a bunch of parent support meetings where we meet relatively like every other month or so that if you feel that you need that sense of community, we can offer that for you. Another thing I want to point out is that this is very common around this age to have any work resistance towards especially specific subjects, or if your child just isn't meshing with the teacher. Completely developmentally normal for what we're looking at right now. So a question that I have is, how long have you been seeing this sort of pattern with the struggle with language arts and history? And is it something that's relatively new?
I mean, I think because like this year they started having like different teachers. So like before they kind of had like their core teachers and then they had like their specials, but like now they've got different teachers for every single class and they're like moving around a lot too. And so it was kind of like not as bad before. Like her teacher would give kind of like the main report and it would like, I would see her assignments come home and like math was better and she'd get like better marks there, but it wasn't like her teacher knew where she was like doing well and then would also say like where she was struggling. And so I don't know, I feel like it wasn't as challenging when it was like all one class or one teacher because they kind of like understood that like, okay, she's does better at these things. But now it's like separate teachers. And so now it's like really bad because her language arts teacher like only knows her in that class and like I don't know, like they just don't get along. Like she's always complaining about that teacher, but also like that teacher is always complaining about her. And I don't know, like she's getting really bad grades in that class. So yeah, I would say it's like worse lately. I think just because like they're all split up for the classes.
That makes sense. Okay. So, Julie, before I move over to Chrissa, can you tell me just a couple of things that you recognize as strengths? Maybe not academic, but things that might happen outside of school that you notice amazing strengths with, or things that you would consider your child to be really good
at? Oh yeah. I mean, like so many. I mean, she's so pretty. And then also like she's so good at band. Like she plays the flute in band and she's so good. And she got a solo last concert. Like she's awesome at that. And she like plays it around the house. And she's really good at math. I guess that's cool. But she also, she gardens. Like, so she'll like plant seeds and stuff and like make little gardens and she'll like grow actual food and then she cooks it. Like she's super creative. And she's really friendly. Like she makes friends everywhere. Like she always has like kids over here and she's always at her friends' houses and stuff. So she does a good job with that. Usually teachers do like her. Like all of her teachers before like liked her because she's like fun and funny and nice. So yeah, she's got a lot of strengths. She's a very likable person.
Awesome. I love it. Okay. So Chrissa, I have some questions for you because it sounds like, I'm going to say your mom for this. It sounds like your mom is really interested in seeing some sort of like grade improvement for these courses. I'm curious for you, what are you hoping to get out of coaching?
I mean, like, yeah, the grades, I guess, would be good. So then my mom doesn't get mad when I bring home a bad report card. Like, I don't like having bad grades either.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't know.
Okay. So let's say we were to start coaching tomorrow. We would work together for pretty much the rest of the year, depending on kind of what we're looking at. If you were to be able to describe yourself as a student or even just as a whole person, by the end of May, how would you want to be able to describe yourself?
I don't know, like smart, like, I don't know, good at school. I mean, I don't like that, like, yeah, I fight with teachers or like they tell my mom that I'm not good at school or whatever. So ideally, like that wouldn't happen at the end of the year.
You are smart. You just like don't try in those classes.
Well, I just don't like those.
That's why it's annoying because like you are so smart. You are already smart.
Yeah, but not in all those classes. I don't like those classes. So I guess I guess I do try. They're not as fun as math.
Okay. Can you tell me what you find fun about math?
I mean, I feel like in like language arts, we just like sit there and quietly read or have to write. So it's not like really interactive. And in math, there's more like hands-on activities that we do. So I think that's why I like it better.
Okay. Now I heard your mom mention that you like writing poems and stuff outside of school. What's engaging about that for you?
I mean, I think just because I'm writing like whatever I want to write, and it's like no one's telling me what I have to write or what I have to do. So it's better at home when I'm just doing it because I want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Have you ever noticed any type of struggle with like, do you notice a struggle with getting started in this class, or is it more like actually completing the work?
Maybe both. Like, I mean, I can start it when they tell us to do it, but yeah, I get like bored with it easily if it's something I might care about or want to work on.
That makes total sense. Can you remind me how old you are?
13.
Okay. So something really cool about the brain is that you can really only pay attention for however many minutes you are old. So I would argue that your attention span is roughly 13 minutes long.
Yeah.
It's not long unless it's something you're engaged in. So you mentioned math is something exciting for you. You feel really cool about it. So you're probably going to be able to pay more attention there. This goes for any, like your mom mentioned gardening. You can probably do that for a long time and feel engaged by it. However, when we look at something like language arts, where you're like, this isn't something I chose, I don't really want to do it, you can probably only pay attention for about 13 minutes to it before your brain is like, okay, I need a break. Yeah. So something that we could work on together, if you're interested, is kind of working on how to manage that attention span, how to maintain that focus, and how to make sure that you're feeling, I would say, confident enough in this coursework to be able to kind of avoid these situations that y'all keep mentioning, like arguing with a teacher or getting that negative feedback. And something that we can also work on together, depending on the capacity we want to look at, is us interacting with your teachers as well to say, here's what we're focusing on and coaching together. How can we work together to make sure that this is successful as a team? So we will work with the family, we will work with your teachers, we will work with everyone to make sure that you feel comfortable and confident moving forward to having that. I heard you say that by the end of the year, you'd want to be able to label yourself as smart. And I would argue that based on what you've said to me today, you are smart, but I want you to feel more confident in that. And if we can get there by the end of May, I would say that's a job well done. Personally, like we can look at that together and figure out, maybe it's focus, maybe it's task initiation. Maybe we need to look at how we're organizing our work and how we're kind of approaching it. Because if you really like those step-by-step things of math, maybe we need to break down the writing a little bit differently. Maybe we need to look at how we can make that more hands-on for you so that it feels more engaging and you feel more capable of doing it. What does that sound like to you?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Mom, what are you hearing here?
Yeah, I mean, 13 minutes is not very long attention span when a class is 40. So, I mean, I'm sad to hear that she thinks she's not smart because she is so smart. And so, like, I want her to feel smart because she is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you have those skills. So what our next steps would be as far as coaching would go is we would sign up for like an initial consultation with just me and Chrissa to work together, where we essentially just kind of work out some goals that will be like smaller short-term things that will lead to this confidence of feeling capable and feeling smart by the end of the year. Another thing we'll work on once we kind of start our coaching process is a academic and executive function survey, which Chrissa and I will fill out together just to kind of see what our base starting point is so that we can sort of track growth as well throughout the process. And then once she and I fill that out together, Mom, I'm going to send you a copy as well. That's for you to fill out so that I can see from both perspectives what you identify as strengths and challenges and what Chrissa identifies as strengths and challenges, so that we can figure out if there is any miscommunication or if there's anything that's not quite aligned. Hopefully they will say the same thing. And then we'll kind of work together as a team from there. We'll bring in teachers if needed. If there's any like case managers that we need to work with as far as IEPs or 504s go, of course, we'll collaborate with them as well, because we're here to make sure that you guys can reach the possibilities that you want to see.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Okay, so we'll stop the role play there. That was great. So it was just really cool to hear all of that. And also, I mean, I was acting, I gotta say that. So that's not what I would say. But I think that is like a common, that's how I feel a lot of times as a parent, in terms of my child. And last time you talked about that potential, not living up to potential. And it is easy to feel that way. And so I love that you heard that and you reframed that. And so, what I said to you, you took that, kind of filtered it through, and expressed that to Chrissa to see how she felt about those statements. So I think that as the mom, that felt really, really comfortable. And I got to express what my challenges were. And as always with you, very solution focused, because you're looking at what are we doing? What is that end goal that we're looking for, and when are we looking for it? So setting that time on it sounds great. So we would love to hear you. Maybe, do you have a couple of the questions in the executive functioning that maybe we could hear? And maybe we could see you kind of how you go through that with Chrissa in the kind of one-on-one.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are really just statements that we go through and we rate it on an I agree, I sometimes agree, or I disagree. And then we dive a little bit deeper into, well, why would you say you sometimes agree with these? Is it subject specific, et cetera? So I'll list out a couple that I see the most disagrees with, and then we can go from there just to say, okay, so these are things we can focus on, and then we would prioritize one of them. So Chrissa, as far as your school performance, how would you rate this statement when I agree sometimes or I disagree? I'm happy with my grades and I believe they accurately reflect what I know in each class.
I disagree.
Okay. Can you tell me more about where that disconnect might be?
I feel like, I'm not happy with my grades, and I feel like they don't really show how smart I can be, or that. I feel like I should be doing better in some of my classes that I don't always do the best in, in language arts.
Okay. Would you say you're happy with your grades in any courses?
Yeah, math and science I'm pretty good at, and band.
Cool. Okay. So it sounds like we have some strengths in those areas, but maybe focusing on specific strategies for language arts might be a good place to start.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And then let's say we're talking about something larger, like a project or an assessment. Would you say that you're able to show what you know on those types of projects?
No, disagree.
Okay. Is that still true just for language arts, or would you say that's across the board?
I feel like across the board, tests are usually harder for me than just the daily assignments in any class, really.
Okay. Would you, I don't want to put words in your mouth or anything, but would you say that you experience any sort of test anxiety or resistance on those types of days?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. That's good to know, because then we can look at some strategies there. Now, as far as your school habits go, would you say you know where to check to find your grades and assignments and things like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you say that you check them regularly?
Yeah. I think for the most part, I know my assignments and when they're doing stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Would you ever say you have missing or late work?
Sometimes, and depending on the class.
Okay. Talk to me about which is it largely still language arts that we're looking at there?
Yeah. I feel like sometimes I don't get those all done on time and turned in on time when they're supposed to be.
Okay. What would you say is the biggest thing that gets in your way with turning things in on time?
I think just like I don't want to do it, so I procrastinate it because I don't like it. So then it's not always done on time.
Yep, that's totally fair. I feel like I do the same thing with things that I'm like, this can wait. So you let it wait until it becomes urgent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally get that. Okay. And then let's say, when you finish an assignment on time, would you say you go ahead and turn it in?
Yeah, I think when it's done, I'll turn it in.
Okay. And then let's say you're facing an issue with an assignment, whether it be it's too challenging or you're procrastinating. Do you feel like you know who to ask for help?
Yeah, I know who to ask, but I don't always do it.
Okay. So I'm hearing a couple of different things here that we can definitely work on as far as the procrastination goes in order to kind of help you reach that goal of having your grades reflect what you know. Because it sounds like some of it may be that if the assignment isn't interesting or if it's too challenging, we're not getting it done, which is going to impact your grades in a way. And then if we're not looking at that material, we probably don't have all the information we need for the big assignments. So what you and I can start with, if you're open to it, is working on a strategy for helping you kind of stay a little bit more organized and making a plan to move forward. And if you're like, no, Megan, that's definitely not going to work for me, this is a trial and error thing. We're going to try something for maybe a couple days, maybe a week. And if it doesn't work for you, we'll start again the next week. And what can be tricky about some of this, and I'm going to let you know, is that we're going to need complete honesty between us. If you're not able to try something one week, that's okay, because that tells me that we need to try something different. Or if you try something and you're like, that absolutely did not work for me, that's okay. We work together to collaborate to come up with a system that works for you, because something that works for some of my clients is not going to work for you. And if you have anything like an ADHD diagnosis, maybe it works for a week and it's beautiful for a week. Maybe it's beautiful for 2 or 3 weeks, and then out of nowhere, it's going to stop working. So as long as we have that open line of communication and trust of you saying, hey, I know it's been working, but it's not working this week, we'll figure it out together. Does that sound okay to you?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So that's essentially what an intake session looks like, where we talk about a bunch of different executive functioning skills, a bunch of different academic skills and school habits. We figure out what our strengths and our concerns are, and then we brainstorm some solutions together throughout our process of working together. Sometimes we'll have a once a week session where we check in every week, or we'll have a bi-weekly session. So we meet twice a week. That way we can set a goal on Monday and check in on Thursday, kind of thing. Just to kind of make sure that you have the accountability measures that you need put in place, and that we can help you brainstorm whenever you face a struggle.
How long are the sessions usually that you guys meet?
Great question. If we're meeting once a week, they're generally 55 minutes, because those are the kids who need the academic support on top of the executive function support. So we'll talk about strategies and then we'll work with the strategies in session. Some kids just need those 25-minute check-ins when we meet twice a week to say, here's my strategy for the week. I'm ready to implement it on my own. Let's check in. Because they don't always need that specific academic support. Now, my kiddos with ADHD who have the attention span that is essentially cut in half for whatever their age group is, we'll meet for those 25-minute sessions to say, what are we going to get done today? Let's start it. And then they continue working after the session, and we'll do the same thing at the second session. Or we'll break it up, executive functioning and academic, however the kid needs it. And we have a lot of different package setups to meet individual people's needs, budget related, time related, because let me tell you, all my kids with ADHD have so many different sports they play. I find that most common with my neurodivergent clients, that they play a spring, summer, fall, winter sport just to keep them active. So we like to be flexible with those types of sessions.
And so the academic coaching is it specific to the subject that they're learning and the specific assignments that are happening?
So we do try to keep it as generalized as possible, because we're not tutors by any means. But let's say, like, my specialty is Spanish. I taught Spanish for 5 years, and now I'm working in this field with a different type of certification. I can work with kids on their foreign language practice skills by saying, here is a strategy you can use for foreign language. Or we'll say, here's a strategy you can use for writing an essay. And these types of things can apply across the board for any subject that they're working on. We'll look sometimes, like with math, I'm like, okay, let's find some resources and we can look at this type of problem together to figure it out. Because let me tell you, I'm not a math expert by any means, but I will sit with you and watch a video so that we can figure out how to do it together. I have found that a lot of the kids do really well when we figure it out together rather than me telling them how to do it. So depending on what we're looking at, there are some things where I'm like, here's a graphic organizer you can use. For the next one, we'll make one together. Just to kind of give those training wheels for success. And we slowly take away the supports to let them figure out how to do it on their own.
You're not teaching the subject, you're teaching how to learn, basically. Because learning is a process. And a lot of the questions that you ask are skills that we don't always associate with learning, right? Like logging in and finding where your assignments are each day and knowing who to ask and actually asking those questions. Those are all have to do with learning. And if it comes down to, well, I don't know how to divide fractions. I don't know how to do that. So how can I do this assignment? That problem solving skill of being able to say, okay, who can we ask or what resource can we use, like a video or like your textbook, in order to figure that out so that we can do it, is what you're teaching and coaching, as opposed to, well, here's how you divide fractions.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, I don't remember how to divide fractions either. Let's find a video on YouTube. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here. And if you could give one suggestion to, let's say, to a parent who's hearing this and going, oh my gosh, that is my 8th grader. Like, but maybe they're on the fence about starting. What suggestion might you give to that person?
So I would say time and the struggle are going to pass regardless of what's happening. You're going to be experiencing this time, right? So I would say it's best to start somewhere so that you can see progress now or see progress within that time frame. Because if you're looking at this as like, okay, the next 6 months are going to pass regardless of what I do. Do I want to be sitting in the same exact spot 6 months from now? Or do I want to potentially see even just a glimmer of growth happen? Because it is a process and it's not something that's going to be fixed overnight. But if you're looking for a change and you're looking for growth, please reach out, because we'd love nothing more than to help you get there.
Wonderful. Yeah, I love that. That time is going to go by anyway. Anytime that I've thought about getting, another degree. So when I was applying for my master's or when I was applying for my doctorate, I was like, it's going to be forever, right? I'm going to be this age by the time I even graduate. And I would have to consciously tell myself that same thing. I'm going to be that age anyway. I'm going to be that age regardless. And so if I'm going to be that age anyway, do I want to do it having done this, or do I want to be that age having not started it yet? So I love that way of thinking about it. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. And if you're listening to this and you're looking for Empower Academic Coaching, you can find them online for their parent support group, their women's support group, and their one-on-one ADHD coaching and academic coaching. So we will list their information there in the show notes so that you can find their link and get set up for those services with Megan. So thank you so much for being here, Megan.
I'm Megan Buck, and I need a counselor.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I'm Chrissa Hunt.
And I'm Julie Johnson, and we need a counselor.
And so do you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the You Need a Counselor podcast. We are so grateful that you're here. Now, we want to hear from you. Text us or give us a call at 515-650-3231. You can also find and connect with You Need a Counselor on Facebook and Instagram. If you've enjoyed today's show, please take a moment to like, review, or leave a comment, as all of these things help others to find and benefit from the podcast as well. If you're in the state of Iowa and interested in mental health counseling or behavioral health intervention services, give us a call at 800-531-4236. And if you're a provider seeking play therapy CEUs, you can find us on patreon.com/youneedatraining. We'll see you for the next episode, Sunday at 5.